Hello, and welcome to another edition of No Lights Paranormal, where three nerdy paranormal investigators sit down and discuss spooky stories from the web. My name is Joe. I am the lead investigator.
My name is Teresa, and I am your researcher.
And my name is Alex. I am the Baba Yaga enthusiast and the equipment setter-upper.
Ah, he's back.
I'm feeling myself today.
Yeah, okay.
So, Indiana.
Actually, to be fair, Indiana encouraged me to be myself today. As you know, since Joe and I picked the same place.
We did.
I love it.
We really did. I said, I'm like, I'm doing this story, and the look on Alex's face was just like, you motherfucker.
So, yeah. I mean, that's not the first time that's happened, but, you know.
No, Joe and I are pretty on par. We kind of know each other.
It's the first time we've got this far into the week and picked the same story. Didn't say anything about it. Yeah. So I had to pick another story. But yes, go ahead with yours.
No, you're gonna.
The reason why it was yourself.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it's one of those weird, oddball, goofball stories that had like a really interesting story to go with it. I'm like, ooh,
yeah.
Ooh,
No, it really
right.
is. It's a good story.
And to be fair, so like when I originally looked it up, I wanted to do it, but I originally skipped over because it took a lot more like in-depth looking to find more than like a paragraph about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
As you're aware of, like
Yeah.
the first 5 articles I looked at, I was like, these are short. I can't stretch this to 10 minutes, let alone 15 or 20.
Right.
And then I found one that was like, oh, this is a lot more in-depth analyses.
Yeah, there's a couple of different stories with it. Like they were never really the same.
Right.
So they kind of all
Yeah. So I pulled a Joe this week too, and I like went to like a couple of different Reddits.
Yeah.
And to go along with the story, and I will explain like the breakdown of the story and the differences in the different versions of the story.
Yeah.
I went with and found a lot of like firsthand accounts of, yeah, we did this, we tried it, blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah. And two, and I'll say it, for those of you who are on Reddit, I actually found a really cool, as soon as I found out where Reddit is, a really cool thing on here. It actually shows some dude actually went and did a map on Google Maps and all the spooky stories and lore and everything, even down to cryptids, aliens and everything, and posted all of it on this map. Okay. And it was actually really, really cool. And I'm going to see if I can find it because I can't remember where I had.
Either way, let's throw it over to our historian for shit that may or may not be going on.
Indubitably. So, obviously, we're looking at just September because it is September at the moment. Go figure. So we're going to start off with the basic stuff that's going on. Paranormal encounters with the Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunters Society, September 7th. This is going to be going on in Toledo, Ohio, from 3 to 4 p.m. on Saturday the 7th. We have 2 interesting events going on September the 12th, which is actually a Thursday. So the Paranormal Encounters with the Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunters Association again, Thursday, September 12th between 6 and 7 at the Toledo Public Library. And then the Witch Lab Overnight Paranormal Investigation. This one is Thursday, September 12th, starts at 6 p.m. and goes overnight. There is, many Christmas, the Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunters Society. These guys are like super busy this month as they're also doing something on the 10th. So they have the 7th, the 10th, and then they have the overnight on the 12th. So these guys are just busy this month.
Busy beavers.
There is Haunted Objects Live, which is September 20th, which is a Friday between 4 and 9 at the Lincoln Theater in Columbus. Highly recommend. Ghosts in the Garden 2024 on the Kent stage. It is a play. Obviously, that's on Main Street in Kent, Ohio. They are telling ghost stories at Pino's Palais Short North in Columbus, Friday the 13th, 7:30 to 9:30. Waynesville, Ohio on the 14th at Museum at a Friend's Home. Again, Saturday the 14th, 7 p.m. is hosting a ghost hunting class. Let's see here. Ghost Files Live, which is Sunday, September 22nd from 7:30 to 9:30 at the Taft Theater in Cincinnati.
Hey, Liz.
The Haunted Tavern on Thursday, September 12th, all the way to Sunday, September 15th at the Historic Ohio Theater in Toledo. MadCon 7 at Madison Seminary is this year. I do know for a fact that both Fridays walking tours and Saturdays Massive Doohickey are sold the fuck out. And then some. So I'm so sorry if you missed tickets. But yes, it is sold out and it's going to be fabulous. So that is Friday. No, I'm so sorry. Yes, it is Friday. Pretty much all day, I think. And then Saturday, September 21st starts at 10 a.m., goes to 5 p.m. And then after 5 p.m. is sort of a VIP thing. There's going to be some celebrities there, like our good buddies who we love so much from Project Fear. They will be there. Let's see here. The Independence Branch Library on Thursday, September 12th, between 7 and 8 p.m. is doing Lost Ghost Stories of Cleveland with said author of that book, William Gretschy. So that should be pretty cool. It looks like that's about it.
All right. So due to my interjecting last week, I have two things to make note of. A small reminder of the Fright Night at Black Hat's Books and Oddities on 420 South Court Street in Medina. That is the one where they will be doing the indie horror author signings, the blood bag mocktails, horror photo booth, etc., etc. But what I did miss and mess up because I didn't scroll down far enough is they are actually having two different events. So that's the first event, and that's going to be actually at their place in Medina. And that one is September 14th from, let me see, does it have a time? From 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
The other one is actually in Medina Square. It is the Curiosities and Cryptids Festival, presented by Black Hat Books and Oddities. That is literally going to be on the square. They are going to have curiosities and oddity vendors, books. They have different experiences. You can take your picture with the Mothman at the gazebo. Dream interpretation, authors and book signings, tarot and oracle readings, and face painting from Blue Rose Entertainment.
I love face painting.
Barrio food truck will be on site.
Nice. Oh, that cinches me in.
And that is going to be Sunday, October 6th between noon and 5 p.m.
Nice.
Kick butt.
So, yeah, we'll probably see you at both of those.
Yeah.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
That's mine. That's all.
Man, the 14th is going to be a busy day for me.
I feel like every day is a busy day for me.
The 14th is the one that is later, and that's just at their place.
Yeah.
The other one is the Curiosities and Cryptids Festival.
And
that is on the, I want to say, 4th or 6th of October.
Oh.
It's on a Sunday. Going back to it, that is the 6th of October. It's between noon and 5. That'll be on a Sunday. Okay. And that's the one that's actually in the square. And it seems to be like a bigger festival.
That'll be cool. And if I go, Bigfoot will be there.
Exactly.
It's true.
Right.
Just a little joke.
We'll have to remember Joe's size.
And if I go with you, we'll just have a
15,
whole happy
16,
Bigfoot family.
16, it's crazy. Man's feet are like clown shoes.
That's why I can't wear Converse. But yeah, no, that'll be cool to go to, actually. I would dig that. So yeah.
We still got to plan our ghost walk, too. Oh, what the fuck we're going to do.
Nevertheless.
You just saw 3 grown adults be like, oh.
Oh, God, we're so busy.
As you can imagine, folks, it is busy season if you are a paranormal investigations team, especially one that's got its hands in different local events, too.
Quite literally a little bit of everything. It's kind of phenomenal. So, I'm going to start us off this week because I feel like it.
Cool. Let's skip all the other talk and just move into Indiana.
I love it. So Indiana, I have decided that I'm going to be covering the Slippery Noodle Inn. Isn't that wonderful? Such a great name. This place resides in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am going to actually be taking my story this week straight from hauntedhouses.com, which is one of my absolute favorite places to find haunted stories and haunted history. They really do a phenomenal job at making sure that all of the information is in there. I cross-reference like literally 20 different sites.
Yeah.
And this one had all the info laid out the best.
Is yours haunted houses or haunted rooms? I go to haunted rooms a lot.
I do like haunted rooms, but this one is hauntedhouses.com. So the Slippery Noodle Inn has had a naughty past. Former employees not on the payroll go about their former duties. A makeshift graveyard in the basement is a source of paranormal activity. The buildings that are home to the Slippery Noodle Inn and its various musical activities are the oldest standing commercial buildings in Indianapolis, probably because the owners throughout the years were practical businessmen providing what the town wanted in the way of entertainment, hospitality, as well as fulfilling services people sought in the community, from being an upscale tavern and inn, evolving into a place for Germans to gather, to a place of rest and a haven from the law, where black market booze could be bought, all the way to prostitution, to the lunch counter, to great music and great bar food. The brick building that houses the Slippery Noodle Inn was originally built around I can't say that enough. The Slippery Noodle Inn. Oh my God, I love it.
I feel like the more you tell me about it, the more the name is fitting.
Cemented.
It is the Slippery Noodle Inn. I'm in love with it. Anyway, was originally built around 1850 by Germans to be an upscale roadhouse and bar for railroad passengers. After the railroad came to town, it was called the Tremont House. The Tiger Bar and the musical venue stage area in the brick building back of the first large rectangle building are the oldest parts of the Slippery Noodle Inn. They're over 100 years old. Well, obviously, because it was built in 1850.
The historian look was hilarious.
Yeah, sorry.
Math did math there for a second.
That totally made the hamster stop. The brick building in the back of this property was originally built to be a stable for the guests. During the time just before the Civil War, the main building was a way station for a different kind of railroad, the Underground Railroad, for escaping slaves on their way to Canada and freedom.
They weighed them?
Supposedly they weighed them. I mean, but it does say way as in W-A-Y, not W-E-I-G.
That confused me for a second.
So I don't think it's like a,
I'm sorry. I was thinking trucker lingo.
Truck way station. It's more like a halfway point.
Can't
you know
go
what I'm
past
saying?
this point if we're way over 250.
Right, right. But with all that running they did, they certainly
leaving it
must have been
alone.
skinny. Yeah, we're going there.
So I said 250.
Anyway, in 1860, the inn and bar's name was changed to the Concordia House in honor of the first Lutheran immigrant ship, the Concordia. Go figure. The tin ceiling was added in 1890. Around the turn of the century, they called it the Germania House, where it became a German club, German only. Like, you could not get in there if you were not German heritage. So, like, my maiden name would have worked out just fine.
Yeah.
Let's see here. During World War I, the name changed again by owner Louis Beck to Beck's Saloon to avoid scrutiny by the authorities and people who were hostile to Germans. So it was still technically Germanic sort of club, but since he was German, yeah, they decided not to do that.
9.
Exactly. Before Prohibition, Walter Moore bought the property and called it Moore's Beer Tavern, producing his own beer in the basement of the tavern. During Prohibition, the name changed again to Moore's Restaurant, though his beer was still being brewed and served in what is now known as Moore's Speakeasy. Moore was determined to serve his own beer, despite what the political morons decreed. Moore installed pipes to pump up his home-produced beer to the bar area, to provide a legal front for the distillery in the basement. A slaughterhouse business also took place in the basement as well, hopefully when the restaurant was closed. Not super sure. Moore's Restaurant became a favorite hangout for both the Brady and Dillinger gangs. Mr. Moore allowed them to use the brick building, the former stable, as target practice. One can still see bullet holes in the east wall of this building, which is now used as a concert venue, put there by John Dillinger himself. As soon as Prohibition was repealed, Moore changed the name of the establishment back to Moore's Beer Tavern. However, Moore started another illegal business in the facility. Located up on the second floor, old inn rooms that were small and unheated. Prostitution. The original German owners must have spun in their graves. This bordello was open until 1953 when its existence was squashed after two men got in a fight over one of the working girls, with the result of one of them being stabbed to death. Murder weapon, a bloody dagger, was left on the bar. How lovely. Its reputation got a huge boost when the Yagi family bought this business in 1963, making it a family business, opening up a simple lunch counter. After a lively discussion on what to call their new pub, the name was the Slippery Noodle Inn. The second floor rooms were turned into storage and offices. When Hal took over the business when his dad passed away in 1985, he started the process of renovating and upgrading the buildings, creating a vibrant place to get a good meal, a drink, and enjoy music in this now turned blues venue. There is a pleasant outdoor eating area complete with umbrellas. There are several areas for music on the property. Current owners, Hal and Carol Yagi, proudly offer their patrons good food, booze, and blues. Most impressive, in this array of awards they have received for being a music venue, specializing in blues since 1996. For example, from 2007 to 2009, they made the Indie Channel A-list as Best Live Music Venue. They offer live blues 7 nights a week in one of the first floor display windows. Off the outside dining area, there's a large sculpture of Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi singing and dancing as the Blues Brothers.
Okay.
Looking at their summer menu, the bar offers a generous assortment of food from a large variety of knuckles, sides, and snacks to sandwiches, soups, and salads to steak dinners and pasta selections and desserts. Their booze selection is impressive as well, offering many varieties of American and imported in bottles or draft. Many flavors of schnapps are available as well. Full menu is available until 11 o'clock p.m. Many celebrities who love music have visited, and some have even performed on the stages of the Slippery Noodle Pub. Such notables as Harrison Ford, the Blues Brothers Band, Mickey Dolenz, Billy Joel, Spike Lee, and Neil Diamond, just to name a couple.
Heavy hitter.
I know, right? This place has got some fame to it. Escaped slaves who lost their lives during their quest to be free while traveling the Underground Railroad sometimes haunt the last station that they were hiding in before their death. This is evident in the Slippery Noodle Inn. Prostitution has long been a dangerous occupation, resulting in the deaths of many women who worked in this line, also, which is very apparent in the Slippery Noodle Inn. People who love their job during their lifetimes don't always want to give them up after they've experienced death. People who are killed in a building sometimes choose to stay there, not willing to accept their unexpected deaths. Some of the very notable hauntings is a male entity. He is believed to have been a caretaker who is still on the job. They see him mostly in the basement, wearing a pair of coveralls. And he has been heard saying a few things. To the point of this, there actually is a couple of stories, one of them specifically about a beer delivery person who had come in and was hauling kegs down to the basement. Well, he gets down into the basement and he turns the corner at the bottom of the stairs only to be literally face to face with this man in coveralls, who is giving him basically the mean mug. The guy screams, drops the shit he's carrying. The entity completely vanishes in front of his eyes, and he 100% refuses to ever go back there again, to the point that he actually quit his job.
As any delivery man should.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Must have worked for Amazon.
Exactly.
Above my pay grade.
Right.
There is a male cowboy entity seen on the second floor who they wholeheartedly believe was the man who was killed in the knife fight over whatever the situation. They both wanted the same prostitute, basically.
Okay.
There is the entity of a female prostitute seen standing on the second floor balcony. You can see her. If you're standing on the first floor and you look up, you can see her. But if you're standing in that room and look out to the balcony, you can't see her. Yeah. So interesting.
Wait, say it again?
So she is seen on the first floor balcony.
Okay.
You can only see her if you are standing on the balcony above her looking down.
Huh. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Weird. So I don't know if she just really likes peeping Toms and just thought she'd, show a little leg. I don't know.
I think she just likes her fucking space and don't stand on her balcony and expect to see her.
That could very well be it.
Like you're here, you're bothersome.
Yeah,
please.
get the fuck out. This is my room.
Not to be rude.
There are multiple, I mean, like a bazillion different stories about various apparitions and various voices, whispers in your ears, being touched, cold spots, weird noises like clacks and clangs and footsteps that just cannot be explained. And it actually is because they have gathered, there's probably somewhere between 10 to 12 people actually buried in the basement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They do this thing at the bottom of the page that says, "Is it still haunting?" Haunted, rather. Their answer, a very strong probably. It says, "Many personal experiences have been reported, and the capturing of some hard evidence suggests that there are some friendly spirits from the building's past that still call it home." There is an Indiana paranormal group called the Circle City Paranormal that they went one time, caught 3 EVPs. One of them was associated with a cold spot in the basement. Indiana Paranormal went on a walk through the site with psychic Gary Spivey and radio disc jockeys. Gary saw a spiritual hand sticking up from the basement floor and saw a caretaker in overalls in the basement as well. On the second floor, a female entity who communicated through a woman in the group told Gary that she was the madam of the brothel.
Madam.
The Slippery Noodle Inn can be found on the corner of South and Meridian Street at 372 South Meridian Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. It is open daily. Go by, get a drink, hear some jazz music. Maybe you'll interact with some ghosties.
See a leg or two.
Nice thing about brothel ghosts is I don't think they know what inflation is.
Right? So they're still cheap. I love it.
Calm down with the dad jokes. Ain't no Bidenomics in that.
I love it. So that's my story about the Slippery Noodle Inn. Half off. I like that.
That worked out.
Mm-hmm,
All right. No, that is actually pretty cool.
And I can't handle the fact that it's called the Slippery Noodle Inn.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes more sense when you hear the rest of the
There's a
story.
lot of-
Was that the name of the actual brothel? Was the Slippery Noodle? Because that would have been hilarious.
It was not. At the time when it was a brothel, that is also when it was called, I want to say, well, it was during Prohibition. It was before Prohibition, my bad. The Bordello opened in 1953 during when the German owner owned it. So this would have been when he switched it back from being just a standard like eatery, and Prohibition ended, and he opened it back up as Moore's actual like bar. Even though he was going back legal with alcohol, he went illegal and added the brothel upstairs.
Okay.
So yeah.
Weird flex, but all right.
So that actually also, interestingly enough, would have been the time that would have been about the time that the Dillinger gang was there too.
Listen, you know what? Just trade one prohibition for the next.
Right.
Basically.
I like doing legal stuff. Let's have a whorehouse.
I love it.
Oh,
So yeah, it would have been Moore's Beer Tavern.
All right. I still think they should call the brothel the Slippery Noodle. That would have just been hilarious.
It would have made a lot of sense, really.
You would have probably got a lot of business just off the name alone.
Exactly.
So, all right. That's the end of yours?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
You make my spaghetti ready.
Right.
Not if it's slippery. I don't. Doesn't that denote
The sauce?
Not. Never mind.
Slippery noodles leaves you to slurp.
You had to make the noise.
I did.
I love it.
Nobody likes dry pasty noodles.
Hell no.
This particular podcast is a little bit R-rated. Sorry.
This time it's your fault.
Yeah, you started it.
I did it. I had to tell a story about a brothel. Sorry.
I mean, how many? I want somebody with like a counter to go back and listen to this and count how many times she said slippery noodle.
I'm going to say it again. Slippery Noodle Inn.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're done with the slippery noodle.
All done with the
Until we
slippery
get
noodle.
there.
That's normally we should have said that for the last. Number one. So, all right. So, as Alex said previously, that me and him kind of picked the same story. So, I had to do kind of a quick search on a story that I could have that didn't mirror. But
Joe did an about face, and he didn't make me go before him somehow. I'm impressed, right?
Yeah. No, it's just like, no. Okay. So,
last time when I changed, I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll change. I'll just go last.
right.
Give me a minute.
No. So, this one was just a quick search. So, apologies if I don't really deep dive into it like I normally do. But this one is just like I found something and I went with it. So, what I'm talking about is Finch's Cemetery in Portland, Indiana. It's on 6243 South 325 West Portland, Indiana. Again, it's just like a normal graveyard kind of thing, but it's actually haunted, and there's a little bit of myth mixed in with it. But it's located in Jay County Conservation Club near the city of Portland. The most famous resident in the cemetery is a boy named Cinderella. Yes, I said that correctly.
All right. I'll just wait and see where you're going with it.
Many late-night visitors claim to have seen the boy sit in a tree not far from his gravestone, looking as though he looking as though he was any child playing, except with otherworldly bright green eyes. You're fine. But they've also heard mysterious noises or heard wind when they couldn't feel it. Must be that weird tree that's in the middle of an aisle that smacks people that's not actually there. Lore says you should start the count number of headstones on the way to Cinderella's grave and then count them again on your way back. Many people say you'll see 13. On the way back, you'll see 11. So it kind of shifts. The cemetery is rumored to have gravestones disappear and shift daily. So one headstone you'll see, when you come back, it's in a different location. But here's where the myth lies at. On the actual gravestone of the boy named Cinderella, it doesn't say Cinderella. It says Cinderella.
Interesting.
So it's all worn and beaten and people just can't read it.
Yes.
Fine, I get it.
Yes. So, yes, that's...
That they read fast. It's fine.
Yeah. So there's been some confusion on what boy are they talking about, or is it actually a girl? Because Cinderella is a weird name for a boy.
Well, so is Cinderella.
Well, yeah. But it's even... Still, you know what I mean. But... Shut up. But, especially back in that time when they were buried, because I think it was in the 1800s, you didn't really hear many boys with that name.
Also, is that a last name or you know what I mean?
It's the only name on the gravestone, so
we wouldn't know either way.
So nobody actually knows who's actually buried there, with the exception of pulling it up and exhuming some things out of there. But again, it's been buried since the 1800s, so good luck finding anything in that.
Or even if you do find it, good luck being able to read it. It's probably weathered all to shit at this point. Well, I meant
like bone density, the bone marrow and stuff like that, but it's probably all gone, so who knows if you could actually glean anything from that. But yeah, the gravestone shifts constantly. And this is why I kind of chose the story, because the unlucky number 13.
Supposedly. Allegedly,
yeah. That you see 13 headstones, but you only see 11 coming back. First of all, where'd the other two go? Secondly, the number 13 is kind of significant in like horror lore or spooky lore because it holds some significance for, I can't remember the reason why. It had something to do with it just wasn't unlucky. It was something else. I can't remember what. Anyways.
You know what? We'll come back to that during a roundtable.
Right. Anyways, they're thinking that, from what the article that I read real quickly, so this is just me going with it, trying to fill 5 to 10 minutes. They're thinking that maybe when on the way back, the two graves that are there that disappear aren't actually there. It's a mirror image or something.
Okay.
So, and it goes into something that I read on Reddit of another story. And like I said, this was just a real quick thing. So I'm going into two different things here. So please stay with me. Electric vehicles. When they go downhill, they obviously, force and everything like that, they actually garner electricity when it's going downhill. They build up that energy. There's a spot in Indiana not far from this gravesite that it doesn't happen on that hill. There's been many people reporting they're going down that hill and their car doesn't. A lot of electric vehicle people will take their foot off the gas and just let the car coast because it builds up the energy back. It rebuilds the battery. It doesn't happen on this hill. Happens on every other hill, but not on this one.
Could be some type of electromagnetic interference.
Correct. But it's next to this cemetery. So is there a ley line connected to that cemetery that is kind of making things not as they appear to be?
Hard to tell.
So
Hard to
I
tell.
don't know. It's something for you guys in Indiana to look up. Try it if you want. But yeah, I know that wasn't real quick, or that wasn't long. So apologies. I didn't have a long to look up a new story. So
No, that's okay. That's interesting stuff right there. We're gonna have to look that up on the ley line map.
yeah, because that was one of the things on Reddit. And speaking of Reddit, yeah, if I ever find that link to that thing in Indiana that has all the spooky stories and cryptids and aliens, I'll post it on the Facebook page. Because it was really, there's a lot of them in there. There's supposedly monsters and all that other stuff in like lake monsters. One cryptid.
Indiana loaded.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I got for this week.
Yep. Indiana be loaded.
Yeah.
But I can
Surprisingly or not surprisingly.
Yeah, I don't
we never know.
surprisingly, because I've been through Indiana and it doesn't seem like there's stuff there, but not, it's one of those weird states. It's kind of like in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
So it's like you have stuff there, but you also don't because people just kind of pass through. And I'm not meaning to talk crap about Indiana, so I'm sorry if it's not that way. Motorcycle. But yeah.
But also I say not surprisingly, and I only say that due to the fact that how many states, like, and I want to preface this by saying, like, we've not been disappointed with a state, but I feel like there were states that let us down, not in the how good or bad was it, but like, kind of expected to find more there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, not once have I been like, oh man, I wish I would have had a lot more, but it's just more like,
I expected to see a lot more, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And alternatively, there's states where I'm like, I didn't expect to see shit, and I found a lot.
Found a landlocked ship.
Right. Right? I found a pirate ship that floats on a river. It's landlocked. I don't know how I got there.
Yeah, right.
Luck.
But yeah, that's my story for this week. So sorry for the shortness, but I had like 10 minutes. So
So the irony is that the Joe and my kerfuffle, if you will,
Kerfuffle.
the one that we found together, holding hands. Not really though.
singing Kumbaya.
Actually is mildly in some ways familiar to the pirate ship in the river. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that was one of my first thoughts when I was picking this. I'm like, Alex better not take this one.
So, I'll just jump right into it. So, Indiana may be the crossroad of America, but Clay County in the central western part of the state is far from big cities, which lay hours away as you can get. About an hour outside of Indianapolis and situated about halfway between Chicago and Louisville, the rural townships that make up the area are more known for their history during the rise of the National Road than anything happening among the 30,000 modern residents. That said, 30,000 residents for the whole county, not for the one little town that I'm going to talk about here. Despite the obscurity in an area which defines the term flyover country, one spot has laid claim for being the most documented haunted location in the United States. The title comes not because it has been the most researched or explored by modern-day paranormal enthusiasts, or even because it has a particular cemetery in question that has produced Instagram or YouTube videos that have lifted it beyond places like Waverly Hills, Goatman Bridge, or the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Instead, its fame comes from a frightening, ever-changing legend and the hard work of a college professor. Cloverland Cemetery is the definition of legend tripping, more well known as 100 Steps Cemetery or Carpenter Cemetery. The location has been the source of haunted stories since the Civil War. No one can quite remember when the ghost stories began to be told, but by around the 1950s, just about the same time that teens were finding their ways in cars to spooky places to excite their dates or challenge each other's manhood, the rituals of 100 steps had become solidified within the community. Most tales involve steps leading from the entrance, now gated, into the main part of the cemetery, The hill, which makes up a majority of Carpenter, is modest enough. There is nothing remarkable about the headstones or memorials aside from their age and poor condition. It is a very, started in the mid-1800s cemetery.
Yeah.
A lot of worn out stuff. The graves located on the hill itself offer no hint to its dark reputation. There have been sightings of the occasional woman in white and some odd grave desecrations. There's even a news report of a missing body of a woman named Emma West who was buried there in 1892. People who go there during the day report nothing odd. In fact, most people report it as a peaceful and serene place during the day. That all changes at night. Legend says that to be fair, again, I'm going to preface this by saying that there are multiple different versions of this legend, and I will kind of cross-examine some of those as I go, but they all kind of have the same gist-ish.
Yeah.
They're just minor variations. The legend says you need to climb the stairs at exactly midnight, counting each step as you go. When you reach the top, you should have counted 100, and if you do, if you turn around and look out over the field, the ghost of the original caretaker of the cemetery will appear to you and tell you the date and nature of your death. What? Yep. The story continues that you must then climb down again, still counting, but if you don't count 100, the caretaker returns and kills you on the spot. That is one of
that's the lore of it.
That's kind of the most ridiculous of the lore of it. Even though all of the lore has to do with finding this caretaker at the top of the stairs.
Stuff right there.
Other stories say that if you try to avoid going down the stairs, then hands will come up out of the ground and try to trip you. You'll be slammed to the ground and left with a devil's handprint that lasts 7 days.
Which that's what caught my eye right there.
Let's give this shit a go.
The cries of children are something you will hear, or people who need help will echoes in your ears, all in an attempt to disrupt you from your counting. One misstep, and the last step opens up and drops you into hell.
What the shit?
Yeah, it gets a little more.
Oh, it goes, yeah.
Again, this is the most ridiculous version of the story. Details of the story and the variations spring off from the original story. It should be noted, the cemetery is technically closed from dusk till dawn. So, yeah, there's that. One tells you of a caretaker refusing to tell your future and the steps disappearing. Another talks about how your feet will sink into the steps, and even though they are stone, you'll get stuck there as the voices grow louder and louder. Another one says that no one can make it up the steps at midnight because unseen hands push you down harder with each step. The most rational one, told by those who don't believe ghost stories, is there's no way to count the same amount of steps on the way up as the way down, no matter how hard you try. There is the reputation as one of the gates of hell of the Midwest, and another nearby location would be Hell's Gate Bridge, which is also in, what the hell was the name of this town? Sorry, you're taking a pause here. Yeah, Brazil. Brazil, Indiana is where this is at. And Hell's Gate Bridge is also in Brazil. But you know how that goes. There are plenty of states with plenty of Hell's Gates all around.
Baby bridges.
I think one of the stories is there's 7 roads in Doylestown.
Oh, it's the devil's something.
Where if you can make it through all of these 7 roads without crossing your path once, you open the gate to hell. Well, no, it doesn't the devil jump out of a tree or something?
Yeah, the devil comes after you.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, right?
Go ahead.
The train no longer runs over the Hell's Gate Bridge. It's actually kind of a tunnel. Supposedly, driving through the tunnel will act as a direct passage to hell. People are said to go under and never to be seen again. Poppycock, whatever. There have been reports of blood being seen dripping from the walls in the tunnel, and despite the fact that the train no longer runs, it can be heard when you pass under. There's also a guardian, a dark figure who is supposedly 7 feet tall, who protects the property and can be summoned by flashing your lights 3 times. That's it. Both Hell's Gate and 100 Steps are said to be linked to the 7 passageways to the underground.
Oh, you got a dog and
So I know you guys can't see this, but it's actually adorable. Our puppy, Oliver, has decided to bring his bowl to Joe, and he climbed up on the chair and put it literally in
my
Joe's
face.
face.
It is roughly between 4 and 6 p.m., so it's his dinner time. So he's trying to let Joe know.
Hungry.
So, nevertheless, the first people that I read from are a group of people called Tripping on Legends. They went to this cemetery as part of their 2017 summer road trip. They were in Indiana, and this should interest Joe a little bit, mainly to visit the Pukwudgie Haven of Mound State Park in Anderson, Indiana. So apparently there are Pukwudgies in Indiana.
Pukwudgies! I love that.
Yeah, that was my story.
So, nevertheless, against the backdrop of dark and stormy night, we read many accounts of 100 Steps getting more and more weeded out with each tale and almost creating a feeling of dread. They even talked about scrapping the trip so they document what happened to them earlier in the day at the Pukwudgie place.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, these particular people, outside of hearing footsteps and whispers and watching things move in and out of headstones at the cemetery, made it up and down the stairs, no issues, no problems, didn't really see anything.
No caretaker, no
caretaker,
time of death.
No time of death. That said, I do have other stories that I'll be going over in a moment about people who supposedly did. That said, the one thing that I wanted to touch on is why the location is so popular and well covered. So, unlike other ghost stories, this one begins in a classroom. A man named Jan Harold Brunvard,
So sorry, guys.
considered to be many the father of modern folklore and the inventor, if not at least the popularizer of the terms urban legend and friend of a friend tales, began his education compiling stories and making connections at the University of Michigan in the mid-1950s. He then started his graduate and PhD work at Indiana University, essentially making that school the center for the study of urban legends. And in fact, you will find actually libraries and volumes of urban legends there.
Actually, and if I could touch on this a little bit, in my research, I actually found that there is let me see it. There's actually a college there for Indiana University that the Department of Folklore and some other word that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But yeah, so yeah, they're full bore into it.
Yeah, many of this dude's papers and collected stories from the locals are still kept in the library on campus.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's see here. Even after he left to teach at the University of Utah and published some of the most important books on the study of modern folklore, Indiana became the center of modern mythology, and local stories became the representation for those being told across the country and the starting point for any urban legend coming out. That said, right now, I will tell you the bad luck of one of the stories that's a reported story from there. A kid named Zach, who was a sucker for haunted houses, haunted graveyards, and anything haunted.
Not that one.
So he and his friend Will decided they were going to give the 100 Steps Cemetery a go.
Yeah.
Again, legend is simple. Climb 100 steps at the cemetery, then at the top of the hill, turn towards the open field, and the ghost of the cemetery's first caretaker will appear. It was Friday night. Everyone was out in bars and clubs, so they thought they wouldn't really have to worry about police patrolling the cemetery. No guards, pretty easy to sneak in. So, that said, following the instructions, Zach and his friend climbed the 100 stairs, turned to the field just to the left of him, and to his surprise, Zach supposedly saw the tall, dark figure standing among the row of tombstones. Zach approached the figure cautiously. As Zach approached the figure, He could see an elderly man with wrinkled white skin and sacks dripping under his hollowed black eyes. Zach was taken aback by the man's features. Nothing had been seen like this before, or he had seen nothing like this before. The man held his hand out to Zach. Without a word, touched his forehead with a very long, bony finger. Zach was suddenly hit with a vision of him falling down the stairs, the ones that he had just climbed. So, talk about the worst of the worst, right? So you're supposedly one of the stories is, if you climb to the top and you count all 100 stairs, and if you turn around and you climb back down and count all 100 stairs again, you can avoid or change your fate.
Yeah.
All right? But if you don't count as many on the way down, then you're doomed to it. This is how you go.
Yep. And
now, can you imagine if you climb to the top, the only way to avoid your fate is to make it down all 100 stairs, and the vision you're given is that halfway down the stairs you're going to trip, fall, and die?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, Zach tried to forego his fate, skip going down the stairs altogether. He was supposedly pushed by an unseen force, and there was a handprint on his back that lasted for a week.
Yep.
Craziness.
Yeah, there's a couple stories I looked up that had the same thing. And one of them actually said that there's no 100 steps there. It's only 60. Well, in the daylight, there's only 60 steps there.
So that said, I did read another article. The article was written by, let's see if there's a guy named Chris. He said that when he went there, he only counted 98 steps up and oddly 96 steps down.
Yeah.
That said, he went around 4 p.m. when it's technically not against the rules to be there.
Yeah.
But maybe he did it wrong. And, again, it's one of those weird things where any like sideways glance like could throw off your count, like
right.
while you're going down. Listen, counting to 100's a long way, right? I mean, it's not, but it is when you're like, when this is what you're focusing on.
Right.
Unless you do the 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. But
especially if you're like me and you got an ADHD brain, like trying to like focus and count to 100, forget it. Like that's a hard time.
What he's saying is he can't multitask.
Also, there's the odd, I don't want to really call it an illusion because that's really not what it is. But like, if you count to 100 and 100's the top, chances are when you turn around and go back down, you're going to skip counting that first step.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like a lot of times the numbers won't match up, right? But yeah, long and short, like that's the story of 100 Step Cemetery. And like I said, super interesting to me. Joe, you can throw in more if you...
Yeah, because I'm actually surprised you missed that. It's actually on an old Indian burial ground. The whole cemetery is an old Indian burial ground. Hell's Gate, everything.
I 100% did not read about that one.
That said, what I can tell... Let's see here. Yes. On November 19th I'll tell one more short story about it. On November 20th, 1892, the following story was reported in the Indianapolis Journal. Brazil, Indiana, November 19th. The people of Posey Township, this county, are greatly stirred up over a ghastly discovery made at the Carpenter Cemetery, 1/2 mile south of Cloverdale, yesterday afternoon. About 2 years ago, George West, a wealthy farmer of that place, buried his daughter, Miss Emma. She died of an ordinary disease and nothing to cause any fear of her grave being robbed or molested. Recently, Mr. West bought a lot in a cemetery and yesterday engaged assistants to help him remove his daughter's remains to go to the new grounds where they had more plots available so they could be buried together. When the coffin was reached and all present were startled to find an upside down in the box and no corpse there. That said, I would say it's pretty common knowledge that anywhere between like 1850s, early 1900s, it was not absurd for bodies to be exhumed and sold illegally into the medical practice, right?
Yeah.
That's just basically how they went about getting their test cadavers, if you will.
Yeah. Learn how to actually do stuff.
So
Right.
she supposedly is the woman in white that's supposedly seen in the cemetery from time to time, and it's because her shit's missing now.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. So somebody stole her.
Yeah. No, I actually read that story too. It was actually very concerning because we've talked about the woman in white
Mm-hmm.
at nauseam. But yeah, it's there's something different about that place. When I saw it was an old Indian burial ground, I'm like, oh, that explains at least half of it. Because yeah, it was spooky.
The one thing that I was not able to find, however, was a fairly in-depth.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like another 30 minutes.
The one thing I wasn't able to find was a
Hey,
welcome to my house, guys, every time somebody comes to my door. But yeah, so one thing that I was not able to find was a fairly in-depth story about the first caretaker himself. Outside of this guy shows up if you make it to the top of the stairs and count to 100,
yeah.
like, I didn't really find any information on the caretaker himself.
No, he was one of the ones that there was nothing on him when I looked it up. Like I tried looking up a name, finding things out, and nothing. It just called him the caretaker, and there was no record of him whatsoever.
Yeah, because usually
we can look back through cemetery records and find him like that.
We have to go to that Indiana thing.
might be, but yeah, no. Usually, like when I find out like different like points in the story, like
Yeah.
I do more research on like those points,
Yeah.
and like he's like the main focus of the story, and there's just nothing on this guy.
Nah, not a zip, zero, zip.
Couldn't find his name,
It's
nothing.
interesting. I'll look it up. I'll
But
see
yeah.
what I can find.
No.
So that's my Indiana urban legend, folklore, maybe haunted cemetery.
Maybe.
Check it out. Let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in Indiana and you can go to this place, please do so. Just remember to
Yeah, it's open to the public at
Obey
certain times.
the law.
Or don't get caught.
Don't do what he said.
Anarchy.
So
I would like to say don't do what I said, but I have been to so many cemeteries after dark when you're not
done
supposed
what
to
I
be there.
said.
So true. So one thing
Yeah.
that I totally want to talk about before we sign off and talk about what we're doing next week and all that other stuff, I finally got our YouTube channel up and running. There's only a small amount of things on it at the moment. There's only, I want to say like 16 or something of our podcasts and then 14 or 16 different videos. Now, these are live feed from our DVRs. This particular batch that I've uploaded is from Madison Seminary from back when we went during the monster ass snowstorm that we had back in January of this year. So you will most definitely, you get to kind of go through that and you get to see it sort of as it's recorded. There are definitely some with us moving in and out of the room as well, but a lot of it also is just the camera in the room rolling.
Right.
Now, the beautiful part about it is that our cameras also have really exceptional audio.
Yeah, they do. They got really good audio.
So you can look and listen live what our cameras, well, not necessarily live because it was pre-recorded before you get to see it, but it's what our cameras saw.
Live-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are actually like undoctored, unclipped.
Yes,
like,
they're not clipped. The reason why they are divided into the times that they are, like one clip's 45 minutes, another one's like 20 minutes, etc., etc.
our DVR saves space, so it just
Yeah.
clips it up by itself.
When I pulled these off of the DVR onto my PC, I pull them and ask it to put them in MP4 format. And it divvies it up into sections to make it easier to do that instead of just one giant fucking thing. So that's why they're in the clips that they're in. So that's not me clipping the video. There's no editing. There's no sound altering. There's no lighting altering. Absolutely nothing.
It's
just
altered.
Right. Completely raw, unedited footage straight from our investigations. And if you see or hear anything at all in any of these, what I would love for you to do is write down the timestamp on the video and which video it is, the title, and I want you to email it to me.
To be fair, the easiest way would be to whatever video you're watching, they can drop a comment.
Yeah.
Drop a comment. Sure, do that. That'd be great.
They can drop a comment, and if
Like
they
and
drop a
subscribe.
comment on that video, that'll just tell us which video it is. Hey, I saw this at 13 seconds in.
I love it. And then other people who are looking at the videos can see your comment and see if they see it, and maybe you hear one thing and they hear another. I don't know. Anyway, so very, very excited to hear what kind of things you guys find on there. Again, these are not in any way, shape, or form already looked at. Like, I have not reviewed these. I'm putting them up there for you guys to review. And if you see something, let me know. So sorry, guys. The neighbor's dog is walking. So, I just thought it would be really, really fun to have videos up there that you guys could be the sleuths. You guys could do the reviewing and see if you find something.
Yeah.
I always thought it was fun. I used to watch the Whittler Library Cam, like, religiously. So I thought this was kind of the same idea. Love it. Anyway, so would absolutely love to see if you guys find us any evidence. I will also be putting up the stuff from Waverly, and we've had 4 trips to Madison now, so there's gonna be a shit ton of content up there. I'll also make generic videos and put up our audio from places we've been that, you know, we had EVP stuff but didn't
Right.
necessarily have anything.
And on the one in Waverly, you'll get to see me and Alex get scared by a bat.
It's true. That particular video is not uploaded yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, No Lights Paranormal on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, whatever all those wonderful things are that they say when they want you to look at their shit. I'm saying all of that too.
Subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. There you go. Don't forget, you can also visit us at No Lights Paranormal on Facebook.com, No Lights Para on X. We also have our LinkedIn account, No Lights Paranormal. We're having a lot of fun with that, I have to be honest. We see people from all over the world. And Alex and I yesterday were just discussing. We have got at least 1 listener in Russia, and probably
At least 1.
Probably at least 2, maybe 3 listeners in Germany. And we don't know who you are because you haven't shouted out to us yet.
Please
but we
do.
really want to know.
Yes.
Like, I'm literally dying to know.
Yeah, like, please.
Like, it's
say
bothering me.
something. Say something. And
And you don't take
even,
ADHD, so you know how that gets, guys.
even if you don't write super well in English, just write it in German or Russian
we
or
have Google
whatever you
Translate.
want.
It's fine.
I
I'll
will
translate it.
Yeah.
whatever. But I want to know you. I want to hear from you. Please, yes, hang out, say hello.
That said, just last 2 quick things to add to that. If you're going to watch the videos on YouTube, and we encourage you to, it's fun. Anyway,
Yeah.
one recommendation I would have is sometimes the audio is kind of quiet. So noise canceling headphones are
My godsend.
a boon,
Yeah.
especially when we are reviewing our own stuff. And also be aware that, like Teresa said, like, we've actually caught EVPs on those cameras before.
Oh, so
Oh,
many. As a matter of fact, I've uploaded, I want to say it was 3 or 4 videos that I did not review in their entirety, but I did watch some of it. And so I put up there the timestamp and what I believe that I might have heard to see if you guys hear the same thing, or if maybe my ears aren't working and it said something totally different,
Yeah.
or maybe it was just, I don't know, a window creaking. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
Something.
And that said, we will continue with that tradition if it's something you guys like and you're interested in.
Yeah, because I
Um,
personally think it's awesome.
That said, I guess we'll go ahead and cover what we are doing next week.
Yay!
Since I roll.
We are down to the last 4 states. Therefore, Joe went ahead and rolled the magic key for. And next week is South Dakota.
That's going to be an interesting one.
That is. Maybe I can do another
it's-
cool cowboy town one.
Well, it's got either falls into our criteria. Either is going to be absolutely nothing or unexpected shit.
Yeah, craziness. Absolute craziness.
Well, let's be honest. Nothing has nothing, but to really center it
Did
down,
you say
it's
North or South? I'm sorry.
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
We've already done North Dakota. So it's either going to have less than we expect,
Yeah.
or it's going to have a whole lot more than we expected.
I mean,
Hard
I
to tell.
totally thought that you said South Dakota because, yeah, but I just had to make sure. So I'm excited.
Nevertheless, you've got the socials. We had a great time here in Indiana. What I will say is,
Yeah.
we love you.
We love you guys.
Have
Yeah.
a great week.
Had to look you up twice.
We'll see you next week. Don't fuck with the Baba Yaga.
Yeah, just don't fuck with it.
Mm-hmm.